Okay, so welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we just went through the various what you call it, types of accidents, the reasons for investigating accidents. So basically, we have a small exercise which you need to do. So basically, we're going to now discuss about responding to an accident. So discuss the first thing you should do when arriving at an accident scene and then the later steps. Consider what type of equipment that you may need to assist you. Okay, so who is going to tell me? Does anybody have any comments on this? When there is an accident, okay, what is the first thing you will do after arriving on the scene of the incident? Yes, Suresh.
First, we need to check person injured or not,
Okay, what else?
and what is the main cause for this accident.
Okay,
Make it safe.
make the area safe. Very good.
And also, we need to check. We need to give him first aid or not. And
Yes, if first aid is required, we will provide first aid. What else? Yeah, so Suresh, you were quite right. So basically, when an accident happens, so the first thing you need to do when you arrive on the scene of the incident is first of all, you need to make sure that the area is safe. Okay. You should never ever enter an area after an accident if you believe it is unsafe. Okay. Why? Because it is very likely that the hazard which has resulted in the accident or which has caused the accident and injured the other person, it might still be present. And when you approach that scene of the incident, you might also get injured. You might also be, exposed to that hazard. Okay. So the first thing you need to do when you arrive on the scene of an incident is that you must make sure that the area is safe. Okay. So after that, you need to focus your attention immediately on the injured person. So if the area is safe, you need to focus on the injured person and provide first aid. Okay. If the area is not safe, you need to make the area safe. Okay. For example, if there is any live electrical equipment, you should try to switch it off if it is safe to do so. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that the area is safe, and then you can approach the injured person and you should provide him first aid if you are trained properly. If not, then you should call the first aider who can come and provide first aid to the injured person. And also, if the first aider is not available, you should call for medical assistance, call the male nurse as well, then inform the supervisor. Once you have done all that, make sure after giving first aid, you move the injured person into a recovery position. Okay. You should not mobilize him elsewhere, but you should put him in recovery position. After that, you need to barricade the scene of the incident so that the area is preserved. The scene of the incident must be preserved, and you should also start investigating the incident. Okay. Now, what type of equipment you will need when you go to an incident scene? First of all, you will need a camera so you can take pictures of the situation. So you need to record what was actually happening at the scene of the incident. You need to identify the witnesses. You will also need a measuring tape so you can measure the distance of the injured person from the equipment or from the other parts of the workplace. You might also need a notebook and a pencil to note down various facts and figures. Okay, so these are the various types of equipment that you will need in case of an accident. Okay, so basic investigation procedures. Now, the investigation it basically starts immediately after the accident takes place. Okay, so once you approach the scene of the incident, you need to make sure the safety of the scene. Is the area safe to approach? Is the immediate action needed to eliminate danger before the casualties are approached? So you need to ask these questions. So, is the area safe to approach? and is an immediate action needed to eliminate the danger before we approach the casualties. Then the next thing you need to do is casualty care. You need to provide first aid treatment, and if the case is beyond first aid treatment, you need to call medical facilities and arrange for hospitalization. And also you need to focus on the bystanders. Bystanders are the people who witnessed or who saw the accident happen. They will be in a state of shock because somebody has been injured or somebody has been killed in front of them. He might be their friend or colleague. So they will be in a state of shock. So we need to make sure that we deal with these people, we talk to these people, and we make them calm, and we can send them back home. Okay, what is the investigation procedure or the steps of investigation? This is very, very important. Basically, there are 4 steps in investigation. Step number 1 is to gather the factual information. This is the most important part of investigation. So it is very, very important to gather what actually happened. Factual information, it can be obtained by various methods, which we will discuss shortly. Step number 2 is to analyze the information and draw conclusions. So after gathering the facts, after gathering all the information, you need to sit down and you need to review and analyze the information. Once you have got all the information analyzed, you have all the what you call it facts in place, then only you can think and you can draw conclusions on what actually happened and why did it happen. Okay, and that's the most important thing about investigation. Why did the accident or incident take place? And then you can take suitable control measures to prevent the recurrence of the incident. Again, very, very important. And this is the main reason of investigating accidents, to make sure that the accident or incident, it does not reoccur. And then finally, you will have to plan the remedial actions. How do we gather evidence? Gathering evidence is very, very important. So first of all, you need to secure the scene of the incident so that the bystanders or other people, they do not come and change the scene of the incident. If the scene of the incident is not preserved, if it is not secured properly, then the evidence will be lost and you won't be able to identify why the accident actually happened. Okay, so you need to secure the scene of the incident. Then you need to identify the witnesses. Witnesses are the people who actually saw the incident take place, bystanders or people who were working nearby or colleagues of the injured person. They were working nearby and they must have seen how the incident happened. So you need to identify those witnesses and you need to start gathering the factual information. So collect all the factual information. What factual information will you need? You will need the location of the injured person, where he was standing, what was he doing, what equipment is involved in the area, did the injured person have any training, did the injured person have any permit to work. So you need to collect all the facts from the scene of the incident. Then you need to interview the witnesses. This is also a very, very important part of investigation. The witnesses who saw the incident happen can give you very useful information that you can use in investigation. And finally, you need to examine the documents. You need to look at the documents, and you need to get information from those documents. What documents should you review? You should review the standard safety procedure. You should review the inspection checklist, the training records, and all that. Okay, witness interview techniques. How will you carry out the interview of the witnesses? Obviously, you need to make sure that you are carrying out the interview in a quiet room. There should be no distractions, because if there are distractions, the witness, he will feel nervous, he will feel anxious, and he might be distracted and might not give you the correct information. You need to establish a rapport. You need to be on good terms with the witness. Otherwise, he will not feel comfortable and he will not give you the information. You need to explain the purpose. A lot of the times, what happens is that when an incident happens, the people, the witnesses, they are scared. They don't want to tell the truth because they are scared that they might implicate themselves or they might implicate their friends or colleagues, and they don't want to get in trouble. Okay, so usually the most common thing which I mean a person involved in an accident has in his brain is, I hope I do not get blamed. I hope they don't blame the incident on me. So you need to explain to the injured, to the witnesses, that the purpose of the interview is not to put a blame on anyone. There should always be no blame culture when you investigate incidents. So the main purpose of an incident, it should not be about blaming people. It should not be about pointing fingers. It should be about finding out what actually happened. So once you explain to the witness that this is not about blaming someone, but we are doing this to find out what went wrong, then he will feel more comfortable. Another very important interview technique is you need to use open-ended questions. What are open-ended questions? Open-ended questions are questions which have answers, which have open answers. Okay, if you ask a question in which the answer is either yes or no, that is a close-ended question. Okay, so you need to use open-ended question in which the witness, he starts to talk, the witness can explain himself. Okay, if you ask simple questions which have answer either yes or no, were you present at the scene of the incident, he will say yes or he will say no. You won't get any further information. Instead, you can change this question and ask him, what were you doing at the time of the accident? Then he will tell you that he was doing this, he was doing that, and by this way he will give you additional information. Okay, which you can use as further questions. So ask open-ended question and don't ask closed-ended question. Closed-ended question are the questions which have a simple answer as yes or no or a single word. Okay, so please consider this when you are interviewing. You need to make sure that you ask open-ended question. Open-ended question are the questions which have who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay, so if you use these, you will get a lot of information. Make sure you keep an open mind, take notes properly, ask for a written statement, and finally, you should thank the witness after the interview has been finished. Okay, what documents you need to examine? The documents you need to examine include the company policy, the risk assessments, the training records, the safe system of work or the permit to work. You can also look at the maintenance records, the inspection reports, previous accident reports, sickness and absence records. So all of these are things that you can examine after an accident. Step number two is analyzing the information. Now that you have carried out the interviews, now you have looked at all the documentation and you have gathered all the facts. Now you can sit down and analyze this information. So basically analyzing the information, it will be looking at the facts and trying to identify the immediate causes and trying to identify the underlying or root causes. What are the immediate causes of the accident? The immediate causes of the accidents are the unsafe acts and conditions that immediately preceded the incident, that were happening just before the accident took place. So the unsafe acts and unsafe conditions that were happening just before the accident, those are considered the immediate causes or the possible immediate causes. Then there are underlying causes. Underlying causes are the reasons behind those immediate causes. So what was the reason that the unsafe act or the unsafe condition was taking place? Okay, and usually these are failures in the management system. For example, there is no supervision, no PPE is provided, there is no training, inadequate maintenance, lack of inspections, etc. So all these are underlying or system causes. Okay, now let's consider a small exercise. A worker is struck by a load being carried on a pallet by a forklift truck. Outline the possible immediate and possible underlying causes. Okay, Now, what are the possible immediate causes in this case? In this case, the possible immediate causes could be the failure to secure the pallet. Maybe you have not secured the pallet on the forklift truck properly. Okay, it could be the poor positioning of the truck close to the pedestrian exit. So maybe the pedestrian exit where it was close to the truck, the position of it. Aggressive braking by the driver. There could be aggressive braking by the driver which could cause the accident, or inattentive pedestrian steps. Okay, that could also be an immediate cause. Now, what could be the possible underlying causes or the root causes of this accident? Number one, there could be no training for the driver. The driver might be untrained. There could be lack of segregation of vehicles and pedestrians. There could be poor driver induction. There could be poor truck maintenance, or there could be no refresher training. So all of these are the possible underlying or root causes of the accident. So you can see the difference between the immediate causes and the root causes. Immediate causes are unsafe action and unsafe conditions, okay? Whereas the root causes are the management system failures. Okay, then you need to identify suitable control measures. Step number 3 is to identify suitable control measures. Yes, there could be driver negligence as well that can be referred to training. Okay, then there are suitable control measures. Once you have identified the immediate causes and the underlying causes, now you need to propose control measures to prevent the recurrence of the accident. Now, for the immediate causes, the actions, there will be short-term actions, okay, or immediate actions that you need to take. For example, if an accident was caused by a spillage, the immediate action would be to clean up the spill. That is addressing the immediate cause. What was the immediate cause? If there is oil spilled on a floor and a person slips over it, okay, that's an unsafe condition. So the immediate cause is the spilled oil. Okay. Now, what is the immediate action or control measure we need to take? We need to clean that spill so that somebody else does not slip over that spillage. Okay. So that's an immediate cause, immediate action to address the immediate cause. Cleaning up the spill, or replace the missing guard. So somebody has been injured by a missing guard. The immediate action would be to replace the missing guard, or if somebody has tripped over a cable, you can relocate the trailing cable. These are all immediate actions and they are only addressing the immediate causes. Okay, then there are underlying causes. Now, addressing underlying causes can be very, very difficult and they can take a very, very long time because you are addressing the management system here. They are more difficult to take and you might need to make changes in the management system. Okay. For example, the immediate cause for oil spillage, there might be an underlying cause behind the spillage, such as poor maintenance of the vehicles. Okay, so in order to correct the maintenance of vehicles, you need to develop a proper maintenance program, a proper maintenance procedure. Okay, so the underlying cause is poor maintenance. In order to address poor maintenance, you need to review and update the maintenance procedure or develop a maintenance program. So that takes long and it is more difficult to take. Okay. Missing guard. Okay, missing guard could be due to inadequate supervision. There might be nobody, or inadequate inspection of the tools and equipment. Okay, so you need to develop an inspection program, an inspection procedure. Relocation cable, again, it could be due to poor inspection. So you need to have a proper inspection program in place. So this is how you identify suitable control measures. Step number 4 is planning the remedial action. Planning the remedial action is very, very important as well. So you need to make sure that you address the dangerous conditions immediately. You cannot delay that. The interim actions, you can put in place something temporary or some interim actions till you put in place the corrective actions in place or the permanent actions in place. underlying causes, they will require more complex actions, and it will take more time, effort, supervision, and money, and you will also need to prioritize them as well. Okay. um, Below in the bottom section, you can see an example of a action plan. So basically the recommended action here is introduce induction training for all drivers. The priority is medium, time scale is 1 month, and responsible person is warehouse manager. So this is basically a action plan. So what do you do in an action plan? In an action plan, you propose and there is a recommended action. You give it a priority. You give it a time scale, and you assign a responsible person. Okay, combining all of this gives you the action plan. So this is your action plan for this corrective action that has been proposed. Okay, then recording and reporting incident is very, very important. Reporting basically is the process in which you inform people that an incident has occurred, and reporting, it will have to be done internally and also externally as well. Internally, you will need to report to your management, the authorities, and externally, you'll have to report to the government as well. And recording is the process when you document the incident and you write a report about it. Okay, there are various barriers to reporting. There are barriers to internal reporting. For example, unclear policy regarding incidents, having no reporting system in place, overly complicated reporting procedures. If the reporting procedure is complicated, it is difficult, people will not report incidents. If there is excessive paperwork involved in incident reporting, again, that is a barrier to incident reporting, and people will not report accidents. It takes too much time. If reporting and recording an incident is very, very lengthy process and it takes a lot of time, again, that will prevent people from reporting accidents. Blame culture could be there. If the company, you're only taking what you call it, blaming the employees for causing the accident, that again, it will cause the people not to report incidents. Apathy, people may not report incidents because they have apathy for their friends. They might feel for their friends, they might feel that their friends will be in trouble if they report the accident. Lack of training on policies and procedures. So all these could be barriers to reporting or the reasons why people do not report accidents. Okay, now internal and external reporting, obviously it depends on severity. Internally, you might have to report to the directors, the senior managers, the human resource managers, health and safety advisors, and worker representative. Externally, who you will report the accident to? Externally, you will have to report to the family of the casualty, external authorities, insurance companies, public relation advisors, etc. Okay, what do we need to record in an accident book or an accident report? Usually the following information is required to be recorded in an accident book or a report. You have to record the name and address of the injured person or the casualty, date and time of the accident, location of the accident, details of the injury, what kind of injury has the person received, details of the treatment given to the injured person, description of the event causing the injury. So you need to define what actually happened, details of any equipment or substances involved, witnesses' names and contact details, details of the person who is filling in this form, and the signatures of the people filling it. Okay, so there are some accidents which have to be reported externally. So the accident which you need to report externally include fatality, major injury, dangerous occurrence, diseases, and lost time injuries. Again, externally, who you should report it to? You should report to the local authorities, the police, OSHAD, or whatever the other authorities are. Okay, guys, so next we have element 4.3. 4.3 is regarding auditing. Auditing basically is a systematic, objective, and critical evaluation of an organization's health and safety management system. So basically what we do in an audit is we look at the effectiveness of the health and safety management system. First of all, we make sure that we have a management system in place, and then we look at the implementation of the management system, whether it is being implemented properly or not, and we verify compliance as well. Okay, what is the difference between an inspection and an audit? So basically, in an inspection, we only check the workplace, okay? Whereas in an audit, we examine documents as well. So in addition to the workplace inspection, we carry out document examination as well. Inspection, it checks records, and audit checks procedures. Inspection is usually quick. Audit is usually a lengthy process. Inspection is low cost. Audit, obviously, it is more cost. Inspection requires only basic competence. Audit requires more competence. And inspection is usually a part of an audit. Okay. Whereas an audit is a complete it is a comprehensive process which includes inspection as well. And it looks at the physical reality of the workplace. So in an audit, you examine the documents, you examine the procedures, you interview the workers, you talk to the workers, and you check what their health and safety understanding is. Okay, audit verifies the standards, the level to which the standards are being met. It checks the compliance as well. It can be a very long process. It is usually expensive and requires high level of competence, and it looks at the management system that lies behind the workplace. Okay, how do we prepare for an audit? When you are about to do an audit, you need to make certain preparations. For example, you need to prepare an audit plan. In the audit plan, you will look at the time scales, how much time you need for the audit. You will look at the scope and the boundaries of the audit. For example, if there is a massive organization, obviously you cannot do the audit in one go. You might have to split it into different areas. So this is called defining the scope of the audit. So you will set boundaries of the audit that you're about to carry out, area and extent of the audit, who will be required in the audit. So you need to identify the auditees, what documentation will be required. You need to identify which documents you will review. During the audit, you will need to make sure that you follow the following methods of information collection. So information collection can be done through paperwork by looking at the documents and the records. It can be carried out by interviews, interviewing the managers and the workers. It can be done by observations, by physically looking at things in the workplace, equipment and activities, and monitoring the behavior of people. During the audit, obviously, you will review various documents and records. What kind of documents or records you will examine in an audit? Usually, you look at the health and safety policy of an organization. You also look at the risk assessments and safe systems of work. You also review the training records. You can also look at the minutes of safety committee meetings, whether the actions that you agreed in the safety committee meetings, have they been taken or not. Maintenance of records and details of failures. You can also look for records of health and safety monitoring activities, such as the safety tours, inspection and surveys. Look at the accident investigation reports and data. Look at the emergency arrangements, inspection reports from insurance companies. Look at the output from the regulator visits, such as the enforcement agencies, such as OSHA or municipality, and look at the records of the workers' complaints as well. So these are the documentation that you should review in the audit. At the end of the audit, you need to hold a closing meeting. So a closing meeting is held. It should be followed by a written report. It is a responsibility of the management at all levels to ensure that the recommendations and improvements are communicated and implemented. Audit, it can be for various purposes. For example, it can be for certification, such as certification to ISO 45001, or certification for ISO 14001 or OSAS 18001. Okay, what are the advantages and disadvantages of external and internal audits? Okay, for external audits, the advantages are number one, external audit is independent of any internal influences. Okay, so an external auditor, he will not be influenced by the internal parties. It serves as a fresh pair of eyes, and usually when you keep on looking at the same thing, you tend to ignore various things. You tend to overlook various things. When you get a fresh pair of eyes, you can focus more on those areas, and there might be something which is obvious, but it might not be visible to an internal auditor. So if you have a fresh pair of eyes, you can identify those obvious issues and sort them out. It may have the external auditors, obviously they may have wider experience and different types of workplaces. So external auditors, they go on a number of workplaces, and they will have a very wide range of experience, and they can give you more information. Recommendations often carry more weight. There could be certain disadvantages as well. For example, external audits are expensive, they are more time consuming, they may not understand the business, so they might make impractical suggestions, and obviously they may intimidate or scare the workers as well. Okay, what are the advantages and disadvantages of internal audits? Obviously, internal audits are less expensive. Auditors already know the business, so they can be realistic. Um, it improves the ownership of the issues that have been found, and it builds the internal competence as well. There are certain disadvantages as well. For example, auditors might not notice certain issues. So just as I told you before, sometimes when you work in a workplace, there are things that you tend to overlook or that you miss. Okay, so this is a disadvantage of internal audit. Auditors may not have good knowledge of the industry or legal standards. Auditors may not possess auditing skills, so they may need some training as well. Auditors are not independent, and so they might be subject to internal influence and pressure. So internal auditors, they might be subject to internal pressure as well. So these are the various advantages and disadvantages of internal and external audits. Okay, the final topic of today is reviewing health and safety performance. Now, reviewing health and safety performance is very important, because if you don't review your health and safety performance, you will not be able to improve your management system. You will not be able to improve your health and safety performance. So reviewing your health and safety management system and reviewing your health and safety performance is very important. Okay, so what is the purpose of regular reviews? Obviously, number one, the main purpose is that you can review your management system and you can improve your management system. You can continually improve your management system. Usually, there are various levels of reviews. So there is usually a full management system review, which is done by the board, and it is done on annual basis. Then the management team review, usually it is done every quarter and it feeds into the full review. And then there is departmental review, usually done on a monthly basis by line managers to ensure they are on track and for assessing the areas of improvement and opportunities for improvement. Okay, purpose of regular reviews. Regular reviews, basically, it is a very important part of health and safety management system, and it ensures that we are on target. And if we are not on target, why are we not on target? And why do we have to change? Okay. For example, the aim or target was to reduce the lost time accident by 5%. If the target has been met, good, and we set a new target for 5% in the next year as well. So this is what we do in reviews. Okay, what are the issues that need to be considered in reviews? Number one, you need to consider legal compliance. You need to represent to the management that you are complying with the legal requirements. You can also review the accident and incident data. You should also discuss about the inspections, surveys, tour sampling that you carried out. You should also look at the accident and incident sickness data as well, absence and sickness data. You can also include your audit reports in the review. You can also determine at what level have you achieved the objectives. Also discuss about enforcement actions, discuss the items that you raised in the previous management review, and legal and best practice development as well. Okay, what are the outputs from the review? Output from the review basically include compliance with the health and safety regulations, which is MHSWR. This is the management of health and safety at work regulations. The management of health and safety at work regulations, and the results may have to be reported to the shareholders. The aim is continual improvement. So the senior management, they review the performance and set targets for the organization. Middle managers, they review performance and set targets for their departments. And junior managers, they review local performance and set targets for their local area. Okay, guys, so this is the end of the element number 4. So today what we have covered, we have outlined the difference between active and reactive monitoring and discussed various monitoring methods. We discussed the purpose and procedure for investigating accidents. We looked at the reasons for investigating accidents. We discussed the requirements of reporting. We described the purpose of procedures for auditing, and we explain the purpose and procedure for regular reviews of health and safety performance. So guys, that's the end of element number 4. Do you guys have any questions for today?